That's okay.
Yes.
We're just going to talk about the top 10 invasive species in the Hudson Valley. And well, there's going to be about 13 or so, depending on what the attention span is here. But tonight we're going to start something new. Whoever can guess, so we're going to start at number 10, actually number 11, I believe, and work our way up to the worst. So we're going to sort of start at the least, but they're kind of paired in different separate ways. We're going to work our way up to number 1, which is the worst invasive species in the Hudson Valley. And whoever guesses that ahead of time, if you haven't seen my talks before, we'll get this Third Thursday tote bag. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
I'm working remotely, so I'm not able to see anything other than my screen on an iPad. So we're a little bit handicapped, but we can see it. This is the opening slide. This is what we can see along the roads pretty much everywhere we go. You're probably all familiar with this scene right here. I could tell you that it's anywhere and it's going to be the truth because it is. So, that down here. I wonder if I can make this smaller. Oh yeah, here we go. So number 11, garlic mustard. Oh yeah, and also questions. If you guys want to unmute yourself, we can do questions during the slide because you might have a specific garlic mustard question. Let's see what happens if I do this. Okay, so go ahead and interrupt, and we can talk about garlic mustard, so we don't have to wait till the end and start flipping back and forth. Okay.
Any recommendations on how to eliminate it?
Yeah, the best way for this is to, when they're about right here where they're flowering, and before they flower, is to pull them up carefully out of the ground, like after a rain. Whenever you happen to be in your backyard, that's where they're going to be, and just pull them up. Now, this is an immature. It takes them 2 years to mature. So this is the immature version. This is small. These are the little rosettes. You can see this. I don't have a pointer now, but that's how you can identify them. This is an immature. You can pull these out at any time. They'll get nice and big over the summer because they're not going to have any seeds on them. You can pick them out of the ground and toss them into the woods, and they're just going to die. This is the time to get them if you can. If you can't get them now, this is garlic mustard mixed in with another invasive, vinca.
John, they won't reroot if you toss them into the woods?
They will not reroot. No, they're just going to shrivel up and die. Here's a nice big, I think on this one, we probably cleared this out the year before, cleared the invasives out. And the first thing that came up is the garlic mustard. And every property is different. You clear out all the invasives in your woods. The quickest thing that's going to come up here is garlic mustard or stiltgrass.
Yep.
So what do you got to do? Go out here and pull up all the roots of every one of these. They're a little bit harder at this level here. This is the business end right here. They're just forming their seeds. You can see that they're flowered now. You got to get them like right around this time. They're actually easier to pull out when they're tall like this. And here's a little bit further. It's these little seed pods, these long green bean-like seed pods that the seeds have not formed yet. If you were to pull this out of the ground and throw it off into the woods, oops, how'd that get in there? Oh man, uh-oh, we're out of order now. Huh. That's weird. See, there's a thing with being on the, oh, you know what? Because I'm on an iPad, so all the numbering is all off here. Jeez. It's one thing after another here tonight. Okay, here we go. We're back. Okay, so if you were to pull those out, I did this experiment several years ago, and lay them on the ground. What's going to happen is they're going to die from the roots, and the last thing that dies are the seeds. So you see how they're poking up at the top, at the seed end of it? They will still come to maturity. The seeds will still come to maturity. This is a couple of weeks later. You see all the leaves have died. but look at the stem sticking up. And the seeds are still getting energy, they're still getting nutrients. And here they are, I don't know, probably a couple more weeks later. Here they are, look at the stems are all dried out. But look at on the middle of the right here, you can see right there, the seed still reaching maturity, still getting energy, still reaching maturity. And here, all of it is dead, but there are the seeds. So if you dig them up, when they've reached that second year of maturity and they have seed pods on them, you have to throw them in a bag and take them off to the trash. Don't throw them in your yard because they're just going to reach maturity in your yard and they're going to throw their seeds. Millions of little tiny seeds on every one of those seed pods. All right, so I ran out of, so I had to make 11. I'm probably gonna have to go like to 15 nowadays. But when I started this series, there's mainly 10, but now we've had to add a couple more. So this is mugwort also. Everybody has that in their yard as well. It likes a lot of sun. And there's not much we can do about that, about the mugwort, because they get a really thick mass of roots. But you can identify them by these leaves here, and you can also pick them and crush them in your fingers, and they have a nice smell to them. I think they're also beneficial in many ways. The Indians use them for the women use them to go through menstrual cycle, and their spiritual properties to you can make mugwort tea. Actually, it's edible. Or you can drink the tea, and it gives you dreams, I guess, more dreams, or you can remember your dreams, or vivid dreams. I'm not really sure how that works. I tried it for a couple of weeks, and I finally just got bored with it and went on to something else. Here are the seed pods for the mugwort. By this time, it's going to be too late. You need to probably just cut them down so that they do not go to seed, and then rake up all the seeds. This is what it looks like. This is I don't know if I would call it a shrub, a woody perennial, I guess that is what I would call it. Here's a nice little forest path, really beautiful. And this is probably late summer right here, midsummer. Let's see if we can get a properties on this. Nope, can't get properties. Otherwise it would tell us what time of year it is. So this is all mugwort. Same path. I know I had some, yeah, here we go. Millions of seeds. Every invasive, every plant really has a strategy for survival. And what we do is find out what that strategy is for each plant and exploit that to our benefit to kill it, to dig it up and get rid of it. The strategy for survival for mugwort is a super thick mass of roots that nothing else can grow in there, and millions of seeds. Now it's getting into fall, so it's starting to change color. It's a beautiful plant. Starting to flower here. You can see the little yellow flower, pink flowers. Now the seeds are coming out. So it's going to, all these plants, they flower first, and then come from the flowers, the seeds come. How many seeds are on this right here? I don't know, a couple of hundred on this one plant. Thousands, really. Any other horror stories or questions about mugwort?
Yeah, John, I have a question.
Sure.
So, I think maybe it would be good to preface the talking about these invasive plants as to why it's so important to get rid of them.
Okay, sure. they outcompete all the native plants like this. For instance, the mugwort, it has a super thick root mass, so it outcompetes the native plants. Native plants are supporting pollinators, birds. They all eat the, they depend on the native plants to complete their life cycle, and they eat them. They eat the leaves. Caterpillars eat the leaves. They eat the seeds. The birds eat the seeds. But the mugwort, which comes from Asia, nothing eats them. So they have no predators. They have no insects eating them. They generally flower or bloom, what do you call it, leaf out earlier than the native plants. They found their niche. They're also like they can live in really depleted soil, which is what we have here through all the farming, through hundreds of years of farming, and then civilization and digging up ripping out the trees so you can put a house and a yard in there. So they're serving a purpose. Something has to grow in every inch of soil. And so they're there. The native plants can't grow in those kinds of conditions, but these can. So they're there and they're growing. You could call it a primary succession. So if you have a forest with a canopy shading the whole forest, shading the ground of the forest, and a big tree or a storm comes by and it opens up a hole in the canopy. So what we have, the canopy is the third succession. It's a mature forest. But where that tree cleared out the canopy, where the hole is, the sunlight shines through and hits the ground, and it goes back, it reverts back to the first primary succession. So all these primary successional plants that we have right here, all these invasive species are primary successional plants. They grow fast and they cover that ground. But then they get older and they don't play fair. It just becomes a war zone. Everybody's competing against each other. Whereas in the middle of that pristine forest, the light's not hitting the ground. Everybody's cooperating. It's all lovey-dovey in the middle of the forest. Did that answer the question well enough? Number 9 is stiltgrass. Yeah. This is another grass, rapidly growing, primary successional. You can't get rid of it. There's no real way to fully get rid of it. But we can manage it though. And we do that. You can see what happens here. Just any kind of bare ground, still everybody I'm sure has stiltgrass in their yard as well. So you wait till it gets to be July or August, I believe now. Right around August is when it reaches its maximum height and starts to go to seed, end of August, early September. So we take a weed whacker and we whack it all down as best we can before it goes to seed. The strategy for survival for stiltgrass is that it has millions of seeds. The payback for that, the cost of that is that it dies. It's an annual, so it doesn't live. When it goes to seed, it dies. So whatever came up last year is dead this year, and those are the seeds that are growing back. If you can cut that back 3 years in a row, because the seeds take about 3 years to germinate. The first year is going to be the big germination. The second year is going to be a little bit less. The third year is going to be a little bit less. If you can clear that area for 3 years in a row, you'll have the minimum amount of stiltgrass on your property that it can be. But the seeds are going to blow in from your neighbors. Look at all these roots here, all these rhizomes here coming up there. The roots are coming down, grabbing, taking territory. It just spreads on out. So this is what it looks like without all the dirt around it in competition. Any questions on this one? So this is a forest. Is there anything that we could plant there to stifle the stilt grass? To possibly take over some space so that it doesn't grow up around it. We're working on that. I'm thinking if we spread some, we're actually kind of experimenting on partridge pea and white clover, because you can buy those in seed, and we can just spread the seeds around. And the white clover also spreads out. It's not actually a native, but the pollinators love it because it flowers in the early spring. So it's been naturalized in this country. So we're trying to do that. And the reason we're choosing partridge pea and white clover is because they are a nitrogen fixer. So they take nitrogen out of the air, I guess nitrogen, and put it into the roots and into the ground. So that fertilizes the ground and makes it more fertile. And there are certain bacteria and micro nematodes and things like that, micro bugs that will live on healthy soil that will not live on depleted soil. So we want to try to encourage, better soil growth, and then maybe we can start planting some other things, find some other seeds. Once we can first you have to heal the soil, because nothing else is going to grow there. You could plant all you want to, but if you have poor soil, they're not going to work. So we're just experimenting with that this year. Let me see, this was, I don't know, probably 2 years in a row here. This is probably our second year. Oh yeah, I know what the client wanted to spray this whole area here with chemicals. So this is what grew up after the first year of spraying, I think. And this is us weed whacking all this stuff, and then someone has to go back and pull it out all around those. You can see that's very time consuming and expensive. Here we are. This is actually probably got a lot of mugwort in here too, and a bunch of other stuff here that we're taking out. This is wrong slide. And here's after we cut it down, and we don't have to rake it up because there are no seeds in there. They're not gonna, do the same thing that garlic mustard is gonna do. So that's still grass. Number 8 is English ivy. Everybody loves English ivy. It's so beautiful on the side of your building. These old 1800s houses with the red brick and everything. It's just beautiful to have all that English ivy and all those bugs and insects and everything climbing into your windows and taking over your house. But unfortunately, it goes out into the yard too. These are this is actually taken over their whole yard. Here's some grapevines down on the bottom. This is all English ivy climbing up there. I forget what kind of trees those are. Dogwood trees. So these dogwood trees, look at how polluted they are. They can't, the trunks can't breathe with all this stuff on them. There's dirt stuck in there. And then it also goes out into the forest, killing all these trees. And here's another one going all the way to the top of the trees. And you can see it all on the ground over here too, down there, along with, looks like multiflora rose. And even more of it here. These trees are what's going to happen to them in 10 years? What are they going to look like in 10 years? I don't think they're going to be standing. Really thick, heavy vines grabbing onto the trunk. You pull these vines off the trunk, the bark comes off. Number 7 is honeysuckle. You all have that too, I'm sure. This is a beautiful plant too, in some ways. Got these flowers. They smell great in the springtime, early summer. Nice, right? Can't see people still there. I can't see anybody. These red berries here, you know, they're advertising for the birds. Hey, come and eat me, but there's no nutrition there, so they eat them because there's nothing else to eat around here, right? So they're going to eat all the berries in late summer, and then they're going to poop the seeds out all over the place and spread it everywhere. And these are just some horror stories. Here's the structure of it in case you see it in a season where there are no leaves, maybe in the spring or the fall. It's got these arching canes with this same angle going up off of the canes. And I believe another strategy for their survival is that when they touch the ground, they sprout out from that, which is the same as multiflora rose. If you're not asking a question, you could mute yourself. And if you want to ask a question, you can unmute. This is a mature honeysuckle. And I believe there might be some, looking at the bark there, it looks like it might be some grapevine in there too. Yeah, this looks like grapevine here, but I think the multiflora rose is supporting the grapevine. And here's the multiflora rose. Same characteristics, except they have thorns. And I believe they also have 5 petals too, same as a honeysuckle. And I believe they're both blooming about the same time.
What's the best way to control those?
You could dig those out, and that's pretty effective. If you can get to it, there's a lot of thorns there. This is a tangled up mess here, as you can see. The best thing for everything is to dig it up, because if you just cut it down, it's going to grow out. You just basically pruned it. So you have to cut them down first so that you don't get, scratched up, and then you get it down to the root ball and you dig up the root ball. It's not easy. Not an easy day of work, that's for sure. But this one also has the arching canes, and they can walk across the field just by every time they touch the ground. They sprout out from there. And these are of course, the seeds here, late summer, for the birds to eat right there, because they got nothing else to eat, so they eat those. Not nutritious for them, but they get something out of it. Or maybe it's like junk food for them, or candy or something, I don't know, but they do eat those. So in some sense, we're feeding the birds, but they're also spreading those seeds all over the place.
Yeah, John, in my experience with them, when we first moved into Kerhonkson, I had multiflora rose and I let it grow because I thought it'd make a nice barrier between the road and our house. And at that time we had yellow throats that were nesting just on the other side of the road. And I thought as those multiflora rose would get bigger, that would really encourage the nesting. As I soon discovered, it doesn't. The berries last almost through the winter because it's starvation food.
Yeah.
Most of the birds don't really like it. And multiflora rose soon became the bane of my existence there. And their thorns reach out to get you. They have thorns, they reach out to get you, and when I worked at Honors Haven and was trying to build trails, they had a section of the woods there that I would have loved to have worked with, but the multiflora rose was so thick, I battled through a lot of it, but boy, that area was so thick. I said, I'm not up.
It's not easy, yeah. And this stuff stays green all winter long too. Like they don't go dormant. Those canes are still green in the winter, and they're still growing. They're still growing in the winter.
Yeah.
That's how they got here in the first place, because the farmers, just like you, the farmers thought they would separate their fields from their fields where they're raising their animals, and they wanted a natural fence. So they brought, they used these. I don't know where they got them from. But it turned out to be a turned out to be okay for them, I suppose, but not so good for us in the 2020s. This is what you do not want to look at, first thing in the morning right here. And know that you have to clean that up. Summertime is the best time to identify them because you can look out over the fields and you can just see them all out there with all their white flowers. And they also climb too. The canes turn into vines if they have a tree or a telephone pole. So they'll go climb all the way to the top of the tree. These are all just horror stories,
They smell so good.
They do. They sure do for about 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yep, they do. But can you imagine this guy right here? I mean, this was I think it was a apple orchard, and that many years ago, and he bought it. Nice house, and I'm going out there, and it's just, you would not believe this place. It's just everywhere you go. Like there's no saving these trees anymore. They're all dead. There's nothing here but multiflora rose. So like we got barberry now. So these are the two thorny. If you come into any thorns in the woods, then it's more than likely, probably 90% chance that it's invasive. So we had the multiflora rose had thorns, and the barberry, which everybody just loves to go to the nursery and buy barberry plants and shrubs and put them in their yards. And then because they're so beautiful. I mean, then finally they realized that they were hugely invasive and spreading all over the world or all over the place. So they made a law banning the selling of barberry in nurseries, and the nursery industry fought it for many years. And finally they said the latest thing with them was that that they have a variety that's not fertile, so they can still sell their barberry, but they're not fertile. And we'll see what happens with that. But nice little flowers though.
Those thorns don't just hurt, they sting.
Oh yeah.
They sting. It's like a bee
Yeah.
sting. They're horrible.
Yeah.
Is it true that they're that ticks love them?
Yeah. Well, they have nothing to do with the actual bush itself or the plant. It's the habitat underneath them that they love, because it's always a lot of leaves and it's really damp and moist, and that's what the ticks love. So yeah, if you have a lot of barberry in your yard, you also have a lot of ticks in your yard. But they are, in some ways, I mean, I'm appalled by them, but some ways they're still a beautiful plant. I love the stems, how the texture on the stems and the berries are nice. I guess I can see why people would want to buy them. So pretty soon we're going to get here. Oh, here we go. What happens when it goes out into the woods? Just completely takes over. Were you guys hoping for good news tonight, or?
They're also hard to dig up.
Yeah, but on the other hand, they're effective. I mean, it's effective to dig them up. It takes probably 3 years after you dig. If you were to go in here and dig all these things up, you'd be good for 3, maybe 4 years before they reach maturity enough to start forming seeds again. Or you can maintain it every year. Go out there and dig up the baby ones, which are a whole lot easier than these, and you could eradicate it. And we had a huge, probably 8 feet high barberry bush in our yard, and and it's protection from the neighbors, so we kept it for a while, and finally I couldn't stand it anymore and went out there and cut it down and dug it up. And nothing ever came back up in there. So like, I don't think you don't have to get every single last root. Like some plants, you have to get every last root out of there. Barberry, you just get the crown, cut it down, get that crown out, and you're okay. What's coming up as the regrowth are the seeds, the seed bank, the seeds that are left over from last year and the year before, or maybe the little tiny ones that you couldn't, get because you were so busy getting all of these out. This is a fall version. It's easy to spot them in the fall in the woods because all the red berries and the red leaves, which is why people buy them. It's these nice red purple berries. You can kind of see them there, the purple. It's nice to have an iPad because you can do that, so number 4, hey honey, I got a great idea. Let's plant some wisteria on our new trellis, and it'll come over on there. We'll have beautiful purple wisteria flowers. They'll smell beautiful, and we'll have shade in the summer, and we'll have sunlight in the winter. It'll be wonderful. And then they sell the house, and 10 years later, hey John, there's this vine all over our woods. I don't know what happened. What vines all over the place? Because it escaped out into the woods. And this is in Woodstock. This is the famous one property in Woodstock that this happened to, and it is just covered with wisteria. And you may not be able to tell, but this is it. This is it. Let's see if we can. Oh, there we go. Just all the way up to the top of the trees. And wisteria spirals. That's how it gets around. That's how it kills the trees. Trees have roots, and they have canopy. They have leaves, and there are tubes connecting the tube. So in the cambium layer is where all the tubes are that bring all the water up to the leaves, going up the trunk, outside of the trunk, underneath the in between the bark and the hardwood inside where the rings are. That little pulpy section, that's where all the tubes are. So that's going up and giving water to the leaves. The sun does its photosynthesis thing, and the leaves change, is actually starch, and it changes that starch to sugar, to a complex carbohydrate, and brings that sugar down into other tubes in the same place, going down to the roots again. So it's that cycle. And wisteria kills the tree by strangling it right where all those tubes are, by closing off those tubes. So that's why this, another reason why this is so dangerous, and it can also grab onto stuff and you can't get it off. And that's how it can spread all over the place.
It can easily take the roof off a house.
Yeah.
John?
Yeah.
I've tried to, I have a stump that somebody planted before I moved in, and I've cut it back and poured gallons of white vinegar into it. And it comes back, the next year. I have no idea how to get rid of it.
Yeah, I know it. Everybody tries that vinegar and dish soap or something, or salt. I think they try. The only real way, I hate to tell you this, is to dig it up. And it's tough because, let's see, I have another picture here. You've seen enough of this guy's property, probably. Look at this. Look at these rhizomes here along the edge here. Look at how many sprouts are coming from that one rhizome. And this is where the roots come down, and the sprouts come out to get sunlight. The roots go down to get earth, and they staple that down every 10 inches. There's one of these every 10 inches. Let's see if we can find another one here. So, and each one of these are going to turn into this long vine, and then they're going to split off too. It's just voracious. This is the second year after we dug out the first year. And So the problem is that you can't, they have these long tap roots and you can't dig them up because when they're really mature, because they're so long and tough. So we cut them off. So we have, I don't know if you can see me or not, but we have the long, let's see here. We have this long horizontal runner. And then we have the rhizome and then the roots, the tap roots going down. So we cut them underneath and take the freeway off. So that's the first step, and that's fine. But if you don't come back for the second step, this is what's going to happen. Well, this is going to happen no matter what. Each one of those roots are, let me see if I have another picture. Each one of those roots are going to become a new plant. So you've just taken one massive plant and you turn into 50 smaller plants. So you have to come back the next spring, and these are easy because they've shrunken down to a smaller amount. Now you can dig them up. So the strategy for this one is to hit it twice, and then you're pretty good. Then you only have to worry about the seed bank. So you hit that seed bank every year or two, you'll see some sprouting back up again. And you just pull them out. They're much easier than those big, giant, fat roots. I have another picture here. So this is where they're splitting off into two. And you can't see the root structure here, but there's little tap roots going all the way down. And this is the problem right here, because they're just layered on top of each other, on top of each other. Most people, just can't do that. And excuse me?
I have a question relating to really thick wisteria vines on trees. So sometimes we have them that they're 2 inches, 3 inches thick, and we just saw them so that they stop strangling the tree.
Sure.
But what would happen root wise from our cutting the thick vine? Are we going to trigger all this growth from the roots?
Well, it's going to, because first of all, you have to do that at least, because you don't want to kill the tree, and it does have to start over again to get it back down to the ground. But you have all these roots, this mass, imagine a mass of roots, and they're all supporting all these leaves, and the leaves are the same thing as the trees, they're all supporting the roots. Well, you cut off all the leaves, and all these roots are saying, oh man, I have all this energy built up in me. And they're shooting out. So they're going to just shoot out like crazy to try to compensate for that. You're going to lose a lot of that mass, but I don't know how much, what, 1/3, 2/3 is going to want to come back. And you can do that with other trees, like say, I believe black walnut trees. If you cut them, they sprout out from their cambium. There's a couple of other trees here that we'll get into later. You can stop that by cutting off those sprouts, and eventually they will die. With wisteria, the only thing that we found is to do what I said, to go through here and cut, it's a whole day or who knows how long of cutting the taproot, and then going back the next season and digging up, because they'll shrink back. Actually, any root ball will shrink back. If you cut down a barberry or a rose today and go back a year from now, it's going to sprout out, but that root ball is going to shrink down. It's going to be a whole lot easier to dig that thing up a year from now than it would be tomorrow or today. Does that make sense? Yeah, here it is, climbing up the tree, strangling the cambium again. All right, so we're at number 3 here, bittersweet. Does anybody know what the number 1 worst invasive is yet? Because I want to get this out. Nobody yet? Huh? No, I don't think, I think you saw my other one answer. I don't think you're eligible for this. Plus you already have one of these anyway. Nobody yet? Okay, all right. Okay, bittersweet. Bittersweet is the same as the wisteria is spirals. That's its strategy for survival, is spirals. And also another strategy is that it produces these beautiful fruits that New Yorkers buy, or everybody buys and puts on their Thanksgiving table in the fall. and they're beautiful. And along the way, we'll drop them. But the ones that don't make it to the kitchen table or the wreath end up here. And the birds, I assume the birds are going to eat these too. I don't know. Okay, and you can see how it's spiraling around here. And then this is late summer, so the seeds are not ripe yet. They're still green. And here's a mess right here going after a red cedar. That cedar's long dead now. We don't even have to worry about that one. It's too late to do anything for him. And here's whoever that was before. This is your tree here, where you had to get a saw and cut that off. Looks like a black cherry tree. I don't know what kind of shape it's in, but it's not long for this world anyway. Even if you're to take this off of there, that tree's there's somebody else's yard. Yeah, look at this tree here. They went all the way up to the top of that tree, and it's just, it's everywhere, I guess. See, it grabbed onto this branch down here, this low branch here, and climbed up to that branch, and then it went over here and made it to that branch over here. The tree has actually given up. Looks like it's given up that branch. See how small the branch is here? It's not getting any nutrients because there's nothing happening there. Maybe there's still some life in that branch, but basically that branch is gone, and it's gone for higher ground. So it's taken all that energy, because a tree has intelligence. It's taken all that energy and it's not going anywhere here. So it's putting it up into the higher canopy. And even these lower branches here is giving up these lower branches here too, so that if the bittersweet hits them, it catches onto them, they'll break off and they're not going to damage the higher tree. So the tree is just raising its canopy 10 feet at a time to battle all of this bittersweet. And this is a nice old maple tree. And that's all the energy that it's putting into saving itself, fighting the bittersweet, instead of turning it into keeping it to be a healthy tree. Like all these dead branches over here. This is not a happy tree. Not a good life for this tree. That's the other side, the other view. And here you can see how this tree managed to grow around. You'll see a lot of that too. But it's given up these branches also. Looks like a birch. There's that. This tree is not worth saving. And neither are these. You can see this stuff anywhere. You can stop on the side of the road anywhere you want to. Go up behind a shopping center and you'll see this stuff everywhere. There's another one. This one's already reached all the way to the top of the canopy. Number 2, grape. Only one more left. Okay, grapevines. Another vine. So we have the wisteria vine, and we have a bittersweet vine. Grape is actually a native plant. So the birds love these seeds. But once it's probably under control when the Indians or Native Americans lived here, but when the Europeans came, they wanted to make their wine and eat their grapes, and started harvesting them everywhere. So now there's millions of grapes. Very aggressive, not necessarily invasive because it is from this area. It does serve an environmental purpose, but has gone completely out of bounds and out of control. This is a Route 9W right around Germantown area, I believe. I go by this fairly frequently, and it's my favorite place to go by. First of all, I like to watch it grow, and second, there's a great Mexican restaurant almost right across the street from it. But this is like a giant monster. It's taken over their cornfield. I think might be the same one, but a different season, maybe earlier in the year, springtime. Yeah, same thing. And it was an apple orchard. And here's the the bottom of it. I pulled over one day and took a look at it to see what kind of shape the trees were in. Not good. And to see how big, just to see what it looked like underneath there. And it's pretty much what you would imagine. So if you see this in the woods, in your woods, cut them down. See how this one on the right, pulling the branches down, pulling it down, pulling the one on the left, the tree on the left gave up a long time ago. The one on the right still fighting. Easy to spot in the fall because it's beautiful leaves. You can notice it by the flaky bark and the big knots and the big knotty joints. It's got these tendrils that grab onto, spiral around and grab onto whatever they can find. Very hard to pull off. But not as bad as bittersweet though. So here's one where we cut off in the springtime. And it's like this will drip water for weeks, who knows how long, but it's like a hose taking all the water that the tree could be using, taking it all the way to the top of the tree to support. But yeah, and this is like probably a couple of weeks after, maybe, I don't know, maybe longer than that, I'm guessing, because right around that cambium of this root here is all these sprouts popping up out of it. This might be that maybe the next year, because that's what's going to happen. So like probably next year, you cut that off, and next year you're going to have all these sprouts popping up around it. So what I would do here is cut off all of these suckers here, cut them off. And maybe the first round, if you have control over it, if it's in your yard and you don't have too much of it and you can't dig it up, I think you could put a black bag around it to keep it from getting sunlight. And I think that's gonna help. I think it's gonna help. But if you don't have that, at least cut off all these sprouts. Okay, 1.5. You have one more chance to guess the number one worst invasive in the Hudson Valley. It used to be knotweed, and it probably still is. It's probably really a tie, because knotweed is everywhere. But there's a new kid in town here I believe is worse than the knotweed problem. But this is an attractive plant. This was people imported this from Europe because it was so beautiful. Japanese knotweed. And these are the canes. It's like I guess this must be some type of bamboo. And these are the sprouts in the springtime that you can eat. If they're red and young like that, you can actually eat them. They kind of taste, they get a little bit bigger and you can still eat them. But once they start turning darker colors, you don't want to eat them. But don't do it until you get, until you do some more research. Don't do it because I told you to do it. But they taste kind of like asparagus. Here you go. These you can eat right here. What is this? Central Park. I remember I was going to Central Park one day and the knotweed along the bottom of the rock, and forsythia, another horrible invasive, climbing up the rock. Everybody, loves forsythia too. Here's the flower coming up here, summertime. I've seen a lot of wasps on this, so they must be getting something from it. So maybe there's some kind of benefit, but I'm sure they would rather eat American food than Japanese, I guess. And this is fall, beautiful, right? All these seeds. The cure for knotweed, there is none. There's no way to eradicate knotweed. You can, unless you use chemicals, possibly. There's somebody around. I believe he lives actually in High Falls. Trilliumism is the name of the company, and they spray, and you can contain it. I don't know if you can completely get rid of it if you choose to go nuclear. But otherwise, there's no chance. No chance. We've given up on that. This is Sandberg Creek, which is a major tributary to the Rondout. This is all this brown here, all knotweed. So all these seeds going into the Sandberg, going into the Rondout. And this is the Rondout, side of the Rondout, right around High Falls area. This is all knotweed right here, washed up on the shore. And it's just, you know, piles and piles of it. But yeah, this is one of our early jobs. We, you know, he paid us to try it out. I didn't think it was going to work, you know, but oh, I heard that you can smother it with landscape fabric. Okay, all right, we'll try it. So we tried it. And here's the same year in the fall. Problem is these trees stick poking up through that landscape fabric and all the seams. You can see it come up in between the seams. So that didn't work. Here it is coming up in a parking lot in downtown Poughkeepsie, of all places. And they don't know what this is. They don't know what to do with that. They just keep cutting it off and shrinking their parking spaces. Here's somebody's yard. This is their studio and their house. We thought we'd try to help them out in the early days, and we couldn't dig it up because the roots are so fragile. And you dig into that giant root ball, and the tiny roots go everywhere, and they all become new plants. It's making the situation even worse. So we gave up on that one too. We don't do knotweed anymore because we can't. There's nothing to do about it. This is another location, I believe also in Poughkeepsie, but a different parking lot. This is the Rochester Creek. Same as before, the golden brown, all knotweed. And the Rochester Creek, another tributary to the Rondout. The Esopus, you can forget about that one. That's covered with knotweed already. Oh, and this is Delhi, the Delhi, I don't know, river or stream. That's the left side, and this is the right side, and that's all covered with knotweed as well. And this is New York City again. And I think we're coming up to the number one worst invasive. What time is it? 7:30. Okay, just in time. Number one worst invasive in the Hudson Valley is Ailanthus. So the first person who says, I want one of these right here, put it in the chat box, and you can have it because it's by default. So anybody who wants a tote bag, a cute tote bag with Third Thursday series, advertising that, nice size, good size. Put your name in the chat box, and probably Alan, I guess, will contact you because I don't have a chat box on this iPad. But Ailanthus, huh?
Alan Stout seems to be the first to say me.
Okay, cool. So stick around after we're done here, and we'll get your address, and hopefully you live close by. We can meet, or I can mail it to you or something like that, but we'll get you one, okay? So Ailanthus, if you're familiar with these trees, then you know what we're talking about. These are all seed pods here that you can see here. This is a property here where somebody went around and cut down about 5 or 6 mature Ailanthus trees, not knowing what they were doing. And the problem with Ailanthus is that when you cut them down, it freaks out the roots. They go into shock and they start sprouting up from the roots themselves. And when that happens, it sends a message to all the other mature Ailanthus trees, and they just start producing millions of seeds. And you know, it might sound to you like folktale, but I'm telling you that it's true because I was here, I saw this. These are millions of ailanthus seedlings because that's what happened. And look at this. They're ailanthus. You can tell they look like maybe poison ivy because of the 3 leaves, but look at how pointy they are. Look at the shape of them. These are ailanthus saplings. No way to get rid of this here, except maybe trilliumism. We were going to call them up, but it was too expensive. The client didn't want to use the chemicals. I don't know what ever happened to that job, but this right here is, yeah, here's the saplings coming up here on the left side. There's one by the rock there, and all the new ones from this year too. So this is like 2 years of seeds. All this green right here, no other green anywhere else, only here because it's early on in the season. Or maybe it's late in the season, I don't know, but they're growing. And this is just going to be a huge field of, here we go, here's some more of ailanthus, also called
So
tree
how
of
do you
heaven.
get rid of it?
Well, I have a technique for this. I don't know. I think if it were on my property, I would have them come over here and spray it. I don't care. You know, it's going to kill it, and we can fix the soil later. But the way I do it is, well, if we can get a skid steer in there, we can pull it big enough. We can pull it out with the roots. We've done that. If there's a large grove of them that there, say, we did that on a job where they're maybe 14 inches in diameter, the trunks, and we pulled them out because we had access to it, and did it. It took about 3 or 4 days, but the slower method and what I use more frequently is to girdle the tree. And what that means is, so also called bandit, but girdle the tree. The Indians use it to kill the tree. You scrape off that cambium that we were talking about earlier. You scrape the trunk off, I mean the bark off, in a band, about an 8-inch band all the way around the tree. In late spring, early, like just as they're starting to leaf out in the spring. You want to catch them then because what they're doing is when leaves change color in the fall, they're taking all that sugar and storing it into the roots, and that's what's causing the leaves to turn brown, right, or to turn different colors in the fall. So in the winter, the roots are like a giant battery, and they're storing all that energy in their roots so they can make it through the winter. And then the spring comes up and they have enough energy to go back up into the trees to feed more buds and make more leaves. So if you band the tree, or if you girdle the tree in the springtime, they're not going to know, the canopy is not going to know what's happening with the roots. They're just going to think it's a bad year. It's just going to kind of fall asleep, because if you were to cut it down, it's going to shock the tree. Oh, what happened to the canopy? I got all this stuff, all this energy to go up, and I got nothing to do with it, and start sprouting it up. So you kind of make it fall asleep, but you have to come back the next year, and what's going to happen is underneath that girdle, they're going to have those sprouts that we saw on the grape. So the sprouts are going to come up. You cut them off, and at a certain point, whenever you can, that tree's going to die. It's still going to have some sugar up in the trunk, in the higher part. So you might get some weak growth that spring, but by summer it's going to be dead. So maybe the next year you can go by and cut it down. And if you do 1/3, if you have a grove of ailanthus, you take out 1/3 of, it's a huge process, but it doesn't take long. 1/3 of the trees. So you just kind of select which trees you're going to cut. You're going to girdle, take 1/3 of them. Next year you go back and you take another third, because you're treating that whole patch as one entity, as one tree, because they're all connected, they're all communicating, they're sharing their roots. It's one that you're going to slowly kill over a period of 3 or 4 years, and then it's just going to slowly go to sleep and then die. Did you understand? Was that making any sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's really like, that's, to say easy way, it's not expensive because it doesn't take long to do that, but you have to do it for 3 years in a row, 3 or 4 years.
How
Just a
deeply
question
do
about
you-
the, oh, sorry, Penny.
Sorry, how deeply do you cut? Just the bark?
Just, yeah, you can go just get the bark off. You'll see like there's an outer bark and then a kind of a greenish inner bark, and then
Yep.
there's the hardwood. So you just get that inner green bark. If you don't get it all, you'll come back next year and it'll be grown up around it because all that energy is going through that inner bark there, that cambium. That's the cambium, that green pulpy part. That's the cambium. So you have to go through all of that, scrape it off. But if your property is only one part of a huge, giant, multi-property grove of ailanthus trees, you're not going to do anything because you're not going to get that 1/3. You only have 1/10 of that or 1/3 of it yourself on your property. So you could do it to all of them, and just when they start popping up, just keep cutting them down. That's why it's the number one, in my opinion, the worst invasive in the area, because of that, and because they're all over the place. Central Hudson, they don't know what they are. Maybe they do. They're all on the side of the roads. They're growing up into the power lines, and they keep cutting them down, which is causing them to grow up even more. Maybe they do. I mean, I talked to one of them one day, and he's like, "Well, what else? I don't care. I'm just cutting them down. What else are we going to do? Go dig up every single one of them? They can't do that. So they just cut them down, keep cutting them down." And here they are all along underneath the power lines. So they're just going to slowly push into, the lawnmower guy. He's going to start damaging his blade. So he's going to, that edge of grass there is going to get closer and closer, like 6 inches closer every year to the, and then these trees are going to push their way closer to the power lines. They're, beautiful trees. Oh yeah, okay, so how do you identify an ailanthus tree leaves from a black walnut? The top one is a black walnut, the bottom is the ailanthus. Look at the little tiny nibs on the bottom. They're smooth. Black walnut, serrated edges. These have a little tiny nib here. I don't have a pointer, so I can't show you, but you can see it. That's how you can tell. And also you can crush the leaves in your hand and they release a really foul smelling odor. That's the best way. Whereas the black walnut have a nice lemony odor. So here's the root system. We're going to move quickly across this here now because we're running out of time. This is the trunk. It's out of focus, unfortunately, but that's kind of how the trunk looks. It changes a little bit as it gets older. And this is it sprouting out on that same property that I showed you earlier, where somebody cut these down and they just sprouted out from that. And it looks like that's it. I'm going to try to stop sharing. I'm not really sure how to do that. Not really sure how to do that. Not sure how to stop sharing. So we're going to leave it. We're going to leave it on here. I'm just going to have to look at my.
If there's a red button up at the top middle of your screen, that's how you close it.
Oh, if I close that, does that shut me out of the meeting? Oops. Does that shut me out of the meeting?
No, we can still see you.
Okay. Red button. Well, anyways, I'll just go back to the picture, I guess. So are there any last minute questions? Anything anybody want to talk about or tell anybody about?
Yeah, John, this is Todd.
Hi.
Yeah, you talked about, back when you were talking about mugwort or whatever, you were saying something to the effect that, well, with this bad soil, this is the only thing that'll grow here. It seems to me that the real solution after you get rid of these things is to find what you can put in its place.
Yeah, I would
said,
try to treat the soil first.
So that's what you're saying. You first have to get rid of the plant, then you have to make the soil different.
Yeah. Yep. And you can put compost down.
Right.
Make the soil really rich. So
and then you can plant the natives.
Yes.
But if you don't do that, because these invasives one thing they seem to be able to do is grow in bad soil.
Yes, absolutely. And you can put pollinator plants, like sun, because if you have mugwort or what was the other one? Garlic mustard. It generally likes sun. So put some sun-loving plants. Put some, what's it, anise, I'm not sure how to pronounce, anise hyssop. They're huge, one little pot from Catskill Native Nursery will turn into a huge plant, and they'll put more shade on the ground. It'll bring a lot of bees there. So make the soil as fertile as you can. You can get compost. If you have a truck, you can get a truckload of compost for $20 from Ukra, Ulster County in Kingston. Is it where all the local transfer stations take their waste to Kingston, to the Ukra, Ulster County
Resource and recovery.
Yes, yeah, that's it. You can go back there and they'll fill up your truck for $20 and you have a whole truckload of compost.
Wow.
And you can dump that in your yard.
And one thing, the clover intrigues me because the bees like that a lot.
Yes, the bees love that. Yeah, it's not native, but it's been naturalized because they've been using it for hundreds of years here.
Yeah, but that would be a good choice, right?
That's a good choice too, if you can get it to grow and if you take care of it, plant it, and look it up online and how to plant that. And you can buy seeds, not that expensive. You can buy a whole 50-pound bag of seeds for like $200 or something like that, and just spread white clover all over the place.
Well,
that's going to sink nitrogen into the soil.
Well, we did that.
We did that.
Oh, you did that. How'd that work?
I would give it a mixed review because
some other plant took over. What we did was we put black plastic and got it all cleared out. Then we put the clover, and it came up the first year, but the second year, the other plant, I forget what it was, still grass.
Yeah,
Still grass, yeah. It's
still grass and mugwort started coming back.
Yeah, it will. It's a battle because they're way stronger than the clover.
But
much stronger.
I wonder if you keep cutting them off and there's so many, it's just so hard to dig everything up.
I know.
If you want to do anything else with your land,
I know.
You could just dig things up every day for 2 hours.
Yeah, I know it.
So if you just keep cutting them off and keep cutting them off, doesn't that discourage them somewhat?
It'll discourage them. Yeah. If it's all you can do, that's all you can do.
Well, we've had success with cutting. We'll cut a grape and we'll find like there's basically one huge root.
Yeah, one big root.
We'll take a sawzall, cut it off, and then everything, they all die.
Yeah.
But I guess they don't die for good.
Yeah. Grape, that's another one where the grape comes up out of the ground and it lands in another location and it'll sprout from there too. So it's another tap that you got to dig up. It's not easy.
I've got a question about the walnut shoots. So we do like black walnut because it's native and we actually want to encourage it. And so some of those shoots that kind of come up, let's say 20 feet or more from the tree, the mother tree was cut in half by a neighbor. It resprouted too, but it's making babies all over our place, and we want to take the babies to our conservation land. But are they viable? The saplings that poke up, are they going to actually grow into a tree if you dig them up?
If you dig them up and transplant them, possibly. I don't know. I haven't tried it. I have a love-hate relationship with black walnuts. Things don't really grow well underneath them. Some of them don't. But I think it's good to have a couple of, one or two, depending on how big your yard is, 1 or 2 black walnuts. They're definitely good. They're great for squirrels and everything.
I don't know. I find that whole thing about it being allotropic and nothing growing by it, I find that untrue. It doesn't affect anything with us. So I'm not sure why everyone says that.
Yeah, I've experienced it. I had, I can't remember what it was. It was a blue, I can't remember what it was called now, but we had these shrubs that I planted pretty close to the black walnut and they were horrible. I had to finally move them and put them into another place and they flourished. So, some plants can take it and some can't.
I'm curious why Phragmites wasn't on one of your.
Oh yeah, well because I only had 10 or 12 or 13, but it is Phragmites. and Phragmites aren't necessarily in people's yards as much, so they're definitely an invasive. And I had a list of, actually, I had one here. Let me just, hate to show you my my screen here, but I had a list here of other that I was going to try to pull together. I had to work remotely, so I didn't. Here it is. So I didn't have. How am I? Oh, well, here they are. I don't know how to get rid of this. How to get rid of the.
Yeah,
Anyway.
we're having trouble with autumn olive really spreading rapidly.
Yeah, autumn
also
olive. That's
over the
another
last few
nitrogen
years,
sink, though.
and the buckthorn.
Buckthorn,
crazy.
another nitrogen sink. So you can plant autumn olive and buckthorn, and they'll put nitrogen in the soil, but they spread like crazy. I would never recommend doing that, but because they spread like crazy. Black swallowwort, also privet, forsythia. Don't ever plant forsythia or privet hedges. You've heard of them. They spread out into the environment. Same with autumn olive. Very difficult to, they also sprout from the cambium as well. Same with buckthorn too. And black swallowwort, you may not be familiar with that one, but I could go on for hours if I listed every single invasive here. So I just went for the top 13 or 14 or whatever. Oh yeah, Phragmites and Japanese maple too. They're beautiful trees, but our neighbor has one, and they're sprouting up all over into our yard too, all over the place. New ones.
We're finding the Norway maple just as.
Oh,
prevalent.
Norway maple. I should add that one too. Norway maple. Yeah. I mean, these are just like so obvious, I guess, but Norway maple. So yeah, I was just on the bus down here. Oh yeah, let me add this one too. That's what I'll come up with.
I put in the chat, but for everybody, just if you are trying to tackle some of your multiflora rose and your barberry, Japanese barberry, the thornies, just take your loppers and cut the canes to with your leather gloves or something, so it's not so thorny, and toss the canes aside.
Yeah.
And then dig it out with a pickaxe. It's way easier to do with a pickaxe than a shovel. It really
a
works.
mattock. Absolutely a mattock. And also if you just you can sometimes kind of push them off. You have this big bushy thing and you can push it off to the side and you just cut. I don't know if you can see me or not, just cut down into the root next to the root ball and you just push it off to the side. Once you get the hang of it, you'll come up with better techniques. We've been doing it for years, so we got it down. We got it down. But that's how you would do a rose bush without getting your eye poked out. Anybody else? Well, thank you guys for tuning in.